The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Tonight, I want to speak with you about our nation's unprecedented response to the coronavirus outbreak that started in China and is now spreading throughout the world. Today, the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic. We have been in frequent contact with our allies, and we are marshaling the full power of the federal government and the private sector to protect the American people. This is the most aggressive and comprehensive effort to confront a foreign virus.
With my telephone here, I want to make sure we get it up on Facebook because I promised them we'd go live. Hey, I'm Gil Contreras, and welcome to another edition of Ride Along Radio. This is going to be a special edition of the show. We're going to be talking about the coronavirus. I've got George Holt by Skype standing by, and I'm also going to have a healthcare professional who is a regional manager, an executive, who told me this morning that they've been meeting daily about the coronavirus and in the healthcare industry, how to keep healthcare workers safe as they treat patients who have tested positive for the coronavirus. There's a lot of scary things happening out there, and in fact, last night after the president made that presentation last night, I was a little I took it a little more serious than I had in the past. I'd kind of dismissed it as kind of, like H1N1 and some of the other flus and viruses that have come and gone, and people thought were going to be the end of the world, and it turned out not to be. I thought this was going to be another one of those, but and then the president came on last night and said he was banning travel from Europe. The NBA has shut down games for this season. Major League Baseball is about to do the same thing. The president now banned travel from Europe to the United States for 30 days. People are fighting in, I guess, Walmart or Costco or Target or something. People are fist fighting over toilet paper, hoarding toilet paper and water. And, as my dad used to say, what the damn hell? So I talked to George today and I said, hey, I want to do a special edition of this. And I want to try to dispel some of these myths. There's a lot of conflicting information out there, and you have doctors on both sides saying, some are saying, you have to take this serious, don't underplay it, you have to follow these procedures, and then you have Dr. Drew and this administrator I'm about to bring on in a bit saying, I think people are overreacting, and the administrator is going to tell us why in a moment. So right now I want to bring George Holt up. He's joining the show via Skype. He's still recovering from hip replacement surgery. George, you up?
I'm here.
Hey.
Absolutely. Hey.
How you doing out there, man?
Man, much better, much better. I can drive. I just can't drive far enough to get out there. I have to stay local. So I'm just running to the pharmacy and et cetera right now. Okay.
All right. So you saw the short video, and I don't know if you watched the president's address last night, but
yeah. Well, you know what I did? I watched what you sent earlier, and this is why it's so important that the president have credibility, because it used to be that when something like this came out and the president spoke on it, man, it was full stop. Everybody paid attention, et cetera. But we're so divided now that people may not be paying attention who actually should be paying attention. And they're missing the message because of the messenger. And that's unfortunate. But I will say this, too, that, I don't think an abundance of caution is a bad thing. And a lot of people are saying don't overreact. It's not the end of the world. And I don't think it is the end of the world. But I'd rather see people preparing themselves now and look at it as a practice run for when that actually happens. Right. I'm dismayed to see people going out and trying to stock up on food and water and stuff now when some of these people live in L.A. or they live in the Midwest, where there's tornadoes and earthquakes all the time. You should be prepared anyway, man. That's the thing that kills me. But maybe people will use this as practice, right?
Right. Well, I don't understand either, because I've been advocating, being prepared for not quote a zombie apocalypse, but for any emergency, whether it's Prop 47, AB 109, early release of prisoners from prison, a major earthquake, there's things I say that you have to do. If you rely on the government to take care of you, you're not that bright. And I've been saying it for years. And, this is why Patricia and I won't be going out trying to find water somewhere. We won't be going out trying to find food. We won't be going out trying to find things. I have enough, I have layers of security at the house. We have enough food and water. We're going to be just fine if anything were to really shut down and people couldn't get stuff. We're going to be okay. But it blows me away that people are, all of a sudden at the last moment, like, oh my God, there's a virus. Oh my God, I got to get to Costco. I don't know if you saw that video, George, that I posted a couple of days ago, where the two women were fighting over toilet paper.
Yeah. You know what? I saw that, and to me, it's just that mindset shows. But hey, man, this shows you how it's going to go down when something really does go down.
Oh, that's right.
It's a dry run, brother. Look at it as a dry run.
When and if the stuff ever hits the fan, our society is going to collapse it's going to be minutes. It's going to go really quick. And if you're not prepared and you can't protect yourself, it's really funny to see all these people who, are anti-gun and saying, wow, do you really need that much ammunition? Suddenly trying to hoard toilet paper and water.
Right, exactly. And that's good, though, because now I know I don't need toilet paper and water because I got guns and ammo. I just come take theirs, But it's a dress rehearsal, and you talk about how society's going to collapse, man. It like you said, it's going to be minutes, man. Society's going to fold faster than Superman's cape on laundry day when it really goes down.
So that's
for real.
That's if a real apocalypse of some sort were to hit America.
Oh yeah, there be something like serious, undeniably serious. Multiple terrorist attack, hell, a meteor strike in the wrong place. Yeah, et cetera, et cetera. And don't forget, we're in Southern California. So how many earthquakes and wildfires and landslides, mudslides, riots have we lived through?
Right. And the major earthquake is going to it's going to come.
Sure it is.
They're not even saying, what is that, JPL up there? They're not even saying if it happens. They're just saying when it happens, you should be prepared for that major earthquake because 911 is not going to work. Nope. There's going to be no city services, no county services.
Nope. Not going to be in utilities.
There'll be no paramedics. If you're injured and you don't know how to take care of yourself, you don't know how to stop the bleeding, you don't have the stuff on you, you don't have a medic bag you carry in your car, on your person when you're in public, in your vehicle, at your house, you don't know where you're going to be when it happens. If you don't have that stuff everywhere that you are, you're just not prepared. You are not ready for what could happen.
Right, and we're going to see a thing of the herd on that day. Now, we did a show on disaster preparedness a couple of years ago, right?
That's right. That's great.
And we talked about stuff like having things in your vehicle that you would need to sustain you out in the wild, so to speak. And I always tell everybody, especially the ladies, keep a pair of shoes in the trunk of your car, even if they're like the shoes you walk in, your tennis shoes or whatever, because you're out there in those high heels and the freeway's jammed up and you got to walk home. You're not going to want to do it in them red bottoms.
That's right.
You're going to need something comfortable for your feet, and you're going to need a jacket, et cetera. Just light stuff like that.
That's right.
And I'm not even saying throw a gun in the trunk of your car. I do that, but I'm not saying everybody should do that. But have some comfortable shoes and a jacket, for God's sake, and a flashlight,
And you have to have some way to protect yourself. If you're so afraid of guns, something as simple as a knife like this, just a little knife like this, that folds. I mean, this can help you survive. You can protect yourself with it. And
it's a tool.
It is a tool. And if you don't have it like readily available, like I just did, when it hits the fan, if it does, you're going to be in a world of hurt.
But see, that's the thing, man. We can't even think if it does, right? It's never if, because people always want to gamble on that if, because people are optimists, right? At least when it comes to themselves.
Right.
People don't think that they'll get hit by a car, but they think they're going to win the lottery one day, even though odds of getting hit by a car are way higher, right? So people always think if. Nah, it ain't if, man. You got to live like when. Yeah. And then if it never happens, okay.
Right.
Then, okay, fine. No harm, no foul. But if it does happen, you won't be ass out.
And so, because of human nature, because that is human nature, humans think that in times of crisis that they're going to rise to their highest level of expectation.
Right.
And the truth is, when a crisis occurs, we rise as humans, we rise to our lowest level of training.
Yep.
And so if you haven't prepared for any of this, anything, even a virus, when it happens, you're gonna be scared, and you're gonna be looking to the government to protect you, and you're gonna be running to Costco, hoarding water and toilet paper.
Exactly.
And food.
Now, I didn't get the toilet paper thing until I realized that people are thinking they're going to be shut in their homes
right.
for a long period of time. Okay.
Right.
And I understand that life's comforts, etc. You need toilet paper. Okay. Or you want toilet paper, but you ain't got to have toilet paper.
Right.
You do have to have medicine. You do have to have food, and you do have to have water. So people need to be prioritizing, man.
That's right. So, the rule of three, you can only go 3 days without water. You can go 30 days without food, but you can only go 3 minutes without oxygen. So if you go down and somebody doesn't start doing chest compressions, or
you're done.
You bleed out in 3 to 4 minutes, somebody doesn't know how to stop the bleeding, or they do know but doesn't have the equipment to do it right on them at that moment, you are toast.
Right, exactly. And ever so often these things happen. Listen, forest fires happen. Sometimes lightning strikes a rock or something, and the fire breaks out, and half the animals get burned up, right?
Right.
Hey, man, that's just nature's way of population control. In our case, it's this virus that gets transmitted back and forth.
Right. So listen, I don't know when this hit you as something that was really more serious, but it really just hit me last night. And after I heard the president's address to the country, I actually sent a text out to my sisters because my mom is in her mid-80s now, and she is the most at risk for serious, illness if she were to contract the coronavirus. She really is at risk, and so I sent a text message, and I got some interesting replies back. So I decided, okay, I was underreacting initially. The president speaks, NBA shuts down, Major League Baseball is talking about shutting down. California Adventure at Disneyland.
No, Disneyland shut down and hockey shut
down. And so then I thought, well, maybe I'm not overreacting. And then I had this discussion with the administrator today, and I think, wow, there's really two sides of this, and I want to get both sides of those out. So I want to go to the first video, and this is Dr. Drew, and it's only about a minute, but I want you to see what Dr. Drew is saying. And then I'm going to show a second video that shows kind of the other side, a different doctor giving a different point of view, and then we're going to bring on our guest.
All right.
So from when you first spoke about coronavirus to now, any changes at all? Anything?
In my opinion? Yeah. Essentially not. Almost no opinion. The only thing I've adjusted is endorsing the behaviors. Like I'm endorsing all the cleaning and the disinfecting,
which we should be.
Which we should be doing. Yeah. I wasn't thinking when I first started talking about that will be a likely behavioral outcome, but it has been. So good.
Hand sanitizer has never been more popular.
Good, and the rest of it, stop, everybody. Get about your business.
What do you think about businesses going forward, like the Olympics, for example? Like that's something we're going to have to deal with over the next couple of months.
The fact that they're even thinking about that is bizarre to me. I mean, look, there will be. Just amongst the homeless right now in Los Angeles, we have a problem with something called M. avium, which is a non-tuberculous AFB. It's an epidemic of that. It's a serious problem. It's going to infect people in the general community. Don't hear anything about it. It's a much more dangerous illness.
It's amazing what we focus on, right?
Yes.
That's something that's been going on for a long time.
Yes. And by the way, if corona gets into the homeless in Southern California, that's going to be a problem. That's when I will change my tune.
And so why is that? Explain that.
Because this is a group of people that are immunocompromised. They're not properly vaccinated. They are in concentrated environments with no sanitation. It will rip through there and really hurt them.
Well, so George, I hope you're like me and you actually get your flu shots and all the immunizations that are available to you. It's just it's amazing to me that there's a number of people out there who won't go get those shots, don't trust them, don't trust the very government they now want to protect them. And really, we've seen measles outbreaks, we've seen other diseases that we've already eradicated with shots, and now they're coming back because people are refusing to get immunized. So I want to go to the second video, and then we'll bring up our guest.
of us. The second misconception that I really want to point out is that we're overreacting or we're panicking. This is not true. This is a time for all hands on deck. This is a time for everybody to really buy into this philosophy. Otherwise, in 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to end up where Italy is now, where our hospital systems are going to be overwhelmed. So this is a time for us to really buy into this philosophy, and I cannot emphasize that enough.
Wow, that's really important. Thank you.
So Dr. Drew is saying it's bizarre that they're talking about not having the Olympics. My guess is he doesn't think it's reasonable, a reasonable reaction to shut down the NBA league, to shut down Major League Baseball. In San Francisco, Gavin Newsom has released a statement saying that, and here's what the San Francisco Giants said about release from Gavin Newsom. It said, in light of the city and county of San Francisco's announcement today that prohibits public gatherings of 1,000 people or more over the next 2 weeks, we will not be playing the upcoming March 24th exhibition game against the Oakland A's. And, in the city of Los Angeles, in my own city where I live, the mayor, and this just came out today, new orders to help protect the public and slow the spread of novel coronavirus. This is what the city is going to do. There's going to be temporary closure of Los Angeles City Hall complex to members of the public. There's postponement or cancellation of all non-essential public community meetings with 50 people or more. They're stopping all non-essential travel by city employees to all destinations, domestic and foreign. They're developing plans to stagger entry for visitors in public buildings, no more than 50 at a time, including city museums, libraries, parks, pools, community centers, transit locations, similar facilities, including LAX and the Port of Los Angeles. It's just incredible to me that so many things are, there's this reaction of just limiting, wanting to limit the number of people gathering. And the number 1,000 people sounds weird to me. So, because that means that if 999 show up, is that okay? I don't know. What are your thoughts about those things, George?
Figures not just West Coast, because they canceled the South by Southwest Festival in Austin. They canceled the St. Patrick's Day Parade in New York City.
Right.
For the first time in 258 years, Jack. Okay. That lets you know how serious it is. But, to answer your question earlier about when I really started to see this was really a big deal was when big money started making big moves. When you figure the NBA, we already knew that Coachella was going to be at least postponed. South by Southwest, much smaller scale. I do work with an organization of executives of high net worth individuals and family businesses from all around the world. And they started canceling events. And I actually got impacted by that because I was supposed to do 3 events with them this month. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, I go, okay, so these people are very well connected. These people have a lot of information. And if they're deciding to do that, it could be out of an abundance of caution because the organization doesn't want to absorb any liability or whatever. But that really, because it personally impacted me, I started really paying attention. But let me say this about Dr. Drew. And I've loved Dr. Drew since he was on Loveline back when I was riding with Leo Willie and Magellan Hanford. Okay. That's how long ago that was. That was in the 90s, right? So I've been listening to Dr. Drew for 25 years.
Right.
And I actually got a chance to meet him and his wife one night at a client's house and actually had a nice little conversation with him. I like the dude. But as far as I know, he's not an epidemiologist, right? And I know that Dr. Drew doesn't have a security clearance as far as I know, and he's not getting briefings from the federal level of the government like the mayors and the governors are. So when I start seeing that, and, there's this public-private partnership, too, between these large corporations and the government on certain levels.
Right.
When companies like Disney and the NBA start shutting down, they know something that's not disseminated to the rest of us, including Dr. Drew. So I understand him wanting to avoid a panic because he thinks a panic, people are going to overreact. There's going to be stampedes, and that itself is going to be a problem. But right now, I don't think he should be telling people to chill out anymore. I think he should be telling people to take it serious, just don't go crazy.
Okay.
Because that's my message to people. Take it seriously, just don't go crazy.
Right. So I think now's a good time to bring up our guest. Our guest is a regional director in the healthcare industry, and our guest has been meeting daily since the beginning of March of this year. They've been meeting daily now within the healthcare industry to talk about this virus, how they should address it in terms of patients and healthcare workers who are treating patients that are positive, because we do have patients in Los Angeles County that have been tested and have tested positive for the coronavirus. So, guest, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So listen, I don't know if you've heard the discussion that George and I have been having, and I know you've seen the 2 video links that I sent you. Where do you fall with this? You've been meeting daily. Let's just start there. You told me that you've been meeting daily about this virus with healthcare professionals and healthcare executives. What's the overall feeling locally about this virus?
That it needs to be taken seriously, but there is a bit of panic. I think I would agree with Dr. Drew on that. Just because there is no vaccine for it, there's no medication to take for it. Like with swine flu, at least we had Tamiflu to take for that. And with this one, there isn't anything to take, so we have to just treat symptoms and hope for the best. And for the most part, most people will recover from it. But, it's the elderly and the ones with the underlying health problems that are going to have the issues.
Right. Now, you told me earlier that that there are positive cases here in LA County and even locally here. And so the healthcare professionals themselves who are treating these patients are almost just as panicked as the public is. So how are you guys dealing with that? And are they more at risk because they have to actually treat the patients that are positive?
Well, no, because they have measures in place to identify these patients who might be high risk for the virus. So they put a mask on the patient, and they have their own protective wear to use when they treat these patients. So, no, they're not at greater risk in the hospital. You're more at risk out in public.
And are they just as afraid, of contracting this virus as the public seems to be? And is it warranted, or do you think they're watching so much media and so much social media that they may be beyond what's reasonable to be afraid of?
I think that people are beyond reason at this point. I think social media, and I think that every 5 minutes I'm getting an alert from my Channel 5 News app, another case of coronavirus, another person died from coronavirus. I think all that makes everybody more on edge. When H1N1 came out, we didn't have all these minute-by-minute notifications of how many people got it, how many people are dying from it. It's just too much in the media right now.
Now, and I remember with H1N1, your own son contracted that virus, right?
Yes.
Okay, talk about that for a moment.
He was 4 years old at the time.
He was 4 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does H1N1 compare to corona in terms of lethality?
I'm not an expert in that, but I would say that it would be around the same because, many people died back then from it too, because it causes a pneumonia that if it wasn't treated early enough, it just kills you. Just like seasonal flu. Seasonal flu can do the same thing. You don't get a flu shot, you can get a really bad case of the flu. It can cause a bad pneumonia, and that's when you die. I think that in terms of how deadly it is, it's just as deadly, I would say. And we haven't had that many deaths from corona in the U.S. anyway, considering how many millions of people are in the U.S. and how many have died from it and how many have a positive case. The numbers are low by comparison still to the seasonal flu.
Right, I was just going to say the number of deaths from the flu every year, just far out exceed what we're seeing with corona.
But we're saying the mortality rate is the same percentage-wise?
I don't have percentage myself. I don't know what it is. Actually, I haven't looked it up myself because I don't have time because I'm constantly in meetings all day long.
So listen, is there any information that you guys are getting that you're discussing on a daily basis that isn't out in the public that because you seem to be much more calm than almost everybody that I see on TV except Dr. Drew?
No, I think that what we're discussing every day is about the same stuff. Are there enough supplies for our staff? How many patients are being looked at for this virus? So it's the same, whatever's out in the media is about what we're discussing in our meetings.
So do you think that there's some kind of secret information that the government has that CDC is giving and the federal government, as George seemed to imply, is passing on to politicians but not passing on to guys like Dr. Drew, and so therefore he's calm because he doesn't have the info? Is there some info that's out there like that you know of that's come across any of these meetings that you're having with healthcare executives?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't have any way of knowing that, but that's like a conspiracy theory. Kind of.
Well, no, because let me tell you something. I belong to an organization called OSAC, right? Overseas Security Advisory Council. And there's information that's passed back and forth in that environment that's an example of a public-private partnership, right? And there are things that are relayed to certain sectors of the industry or American industry that would impact them that are really not out there for public consumption. They don't just let anybody join OSAC. So I know that there are settings in which this information is passed on, right? And even now they're saying that the Department of the Human and Health Services is having these meetings, and these things are being classified, and they're bringing in people from companies who I guess are government contractors, or they have clearances, and they're discussing this in a classified setting. And that is open source knowledge. They're having these discussions in a classified setting. So there's certainly information out there that's being passed around. It's just a matter of when does it trickle down to us and how much of it is important to us at our level.
Right. So, George, what was the name of that group you just mentioned?
OSAC, Overseas Security Advisory Council.
Okay.
It's run by the Department of State.
So
I'm in it as a member of the private sector.
Is that like InfraGard from the FBI?
Like that, but it's more focused on overseas threats and global security concerns.
Okay.
And of course, right now, coronavirus is one of those.
Right. So I am a member of InfraGard also, and as a community member with InfraGard, it's an FBI program. And there is information, but much of the information that I'm seeing through the InfraGard program is kind of consistent with what our guest is saying. There doesn't seem to be this huge, there doesn't seem to be a huge secret out there about the virus or how to treat it or its potential for lethality to the public. It's almost all the same stuff, and that's wash your hands, use hand sanitizer. If you're 60 or over, stay out of big crowds. If people are sick, stay away from them. Just like the
social distancing.
But the basic stuff.
These companies, these major billion-dollar companies, wouldn't be making decisions that cost them money without having done their due diligence.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. When you see Disney and the NBA and Coachella and all these other things that bring hundreds of millions of dollars in, billions of dollars in some cases, when you see them slow that down, man, you better pay attention.
Right, but I kind of think that there's also there's a political component to this, and I think that because of the overreaction of the media and the overreaction of an mostly uninformed public, I think that there's this kind of vacuum of facts, and no politician and no media person, no politician certainly, wants to be the guy that didn't do a thing. It seems to me, as I listen to Gavin Newsom, as I listen to Eric Garcetti, and LA County just did a thing about their public health program. They're doing daily updates also, and in a moment, I want to talk about what the sheriff's department is doing with people in custody. But I saw the sheriff there, Sheriff Villanueva, but I didn't see Chief Moore from the LAPD there, although Garcetti was there. And so I just think a lot of these guys, they don't want to be the guy who didn't do something, even if
sure, because they're done. If it turns out that they didn't react, then it's a problem, right?
Right. So I think that's exactly right, and I think that's the problem. And I think that's what our guest is trying to say, is that because they don't want to be seen as underreacting, they're overreacting, and the public is overreacting with them, and they are now hoarding water and fighting over toilet paper at Target.
Well, I'm looking at the live feed right now on the YouTube, and shout out to Cabot Haynes. He's kicked in and said there's a 2% mortality rate. So I don't have intern Darren up here to fact check that, but that's from longtime viewer Cavett Haynes. Shout out to Cavett Haynes.
So listen, let me go back to my guest for a moment. Is there anything, guest, that I think it's it's a sign of the times, man, that we have a guest who is in the midst of this, right? In the midst deals with this daily, but we can't say the person's name or how they know what they know. I mean, it's kind of crazy to me, but for confidentiality,
reliable, confidential, reliable informant.
That's right. So I'm going to keep it confidential. But listen, guest, is there any last things or thoughts that you have for people who are listening? Because I think a lot of people are watching cable news, and I'm not one of them anymore, thank goodness. And my life is much better, by the way, since I unplugged from cable news because it's just 24 hours nonsense. But is there anything, guest, that you think the public should know right from a person who is dealing with executives in the healthcare industry on a daily basis and having meetings daily about the coronavirus? What do you have to tell the public?
I think, just listen to the people who speak from the Department of Health and the CDC, because they're the ones that are guiding all of our management plans for how we deal with this. So all the good hand washing tips and everything, like you're saying, the hand sanitizing and everything, as long as we do all that and stay home when we're sick, that's how my son caught the swine flu back when he was 4 years old, because somebody sent their kid to preschool and he was sick.
Right.
And so, just staying home when you're sick and those good habits. And, I'm seeing all these emails I'm getting on my personal emails, because they're coming from the casinos and hotels in Vegas, that they're sanitizing this. They're putting up all these hand sanitizer stations. Everything is being cleaned up everywhere. And I'm like, wow, that should have been done all along anyway, because those cards and those chips are nasty. They're full of germs. And so, all the stuff that they're doing now should have been done all along, because germs are everywhere.
Right.
So I would just say, don't panic, and it'll all be fine. Somebody Cavett Haynes wrote a question for the guest: is corona treatable? Well, there's no drugs to treat it specifically, and there's no vaccination against it, but they just treat symptoms. So if you have fever, you take Tylenol and Advil. You drink a lot of water to stay hydrated and prevent pneumonia, hopefully. So anyway.
So listen, you were just in Vegas, right, over the weekend?
Yeah, I loved it because it was empty.
So, did you guys have any reservations about actually going?
No, not at all.
No.
Man, let me tell you something. I go to Vegas like 6-7 times a year, and right now you couldn't put me on a private jet and take me to Vegas. Simply, not that I ever do the buffet thing really, but I do like to gamble. So I'm touching slot machine buttons and handles, and it's and cards and all that kind of stuff. Nah, man. I just think that I can sit it out right now. I can sit it out for right now. There's casinos closer to my house that I'm not going to. I just can sit it out for right now, just out of an abundance of caution.
And
if it's nothing, it's nothing. It's fine. It'll be there when it's over, right?
Well, me and my husband enjoyed Vegas, and we took our brother-in-law, and we had a great time, because you could walk down the strip and not bump into anybody. It was so
awesome. Sure.
Wow.
Sure. And if this goes sideways, every place is going to be like that. But I understand.
Yeah.
So listen, my last question is kind of a personal one. So, my mom is elderly, and you know who she is, and she's in her mid-80s. What precautions should we as a family be taking to protect her, if any?
Well, I think as long as people are not sick that are going to, that go visit her, she should be fine, because she's mostly in the house anyway.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you for agreeing to come on with me and having this discussion. I hope the takeaway from this is that number one, unplug from cable news. That's my advice. Unplug from cable news. Number two, follow the basic guidelines that almost everybody is putting out, from LA County Public Health to LA City to Governor Newsom to the CDC to the president. And sick people making people sick. When you show up at work and you're sick, nothing makes me crazier than that, but you just cannot stop people. I don't know how to reach people. You just can't stop them.
Employees want to save their sick days from when they're feeling well enough to do something with them.
That's exactly right. right.
Well, listen, guest, thank you for calling in. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Thank you, mystery guest.
Okay. Bye.
So we're going to take a quick musical break, and then when we come back, we've got some more to talk about on the coronavirus and how it's affecting you.
This is the end, my only friend, the end of our elaborate plans, the end of everything that stands, the end, no safety or surprise, the end, I'll never look into your eyes again. Can you picture what will be so limitless and free, desperately in need of some stranger's hand in a desperate land?
And we are back. So I just got a note from from someone saying that they were laughing their heads off at the musical break music there. That was, of course, if you didn't recognize it, that's the Doors. This is the end.
This is the end. Hey, breaking news. Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, who is the wife of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, has tested positive for coronavirus. It just popped up on my feed right now from the Daily Mail in the UK.
Wow. And so that's a great lead-in to what I was going to talk about next, and that is I understand that Tom Hanks is stuck on an island with someone named Wilson. And he's tested,
isn't that something?
And he's tested positive for the coronavirus.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I want to run this quick video because Tom Hanks' son, who I'd never seen before today, and I did.
Chet. OG Chet. Yeah.
OG Chet. I had never even heard of the kid, quite frankly. I don't know who he is, what he does. But someone posted a video, and I checked it out. And so I want to run this is a video of the son of Tom Hanks talking about his mom and his dad.
What's up, everyone? Yeah, it's true. My parents got coronavirus. Crazy. They're both down in Australia right now because my dad was shooting a movie down there. But I just got off the phone with them. They both are fine. They're not even that sick. They're not worried about it. They're not tripping, but they're going through the necessary health precautions, obviously. But I don't think it's anything to be too worried about. I appreciate everyone's concern and the well wishes, but I think it's all going to be all right. But I appreciate it, and just everybody stay safe out there. Much love.
So I thought that was interesting, and that's one of the reasons I decided I wanted to run his video also tonight, because it kind of falls in line with what Dr. Drew was saying, and it kind of falls in line with what our guest just spent 30 minutes talking about, and that is that. And I understand Tom Hanks is not only 63 years old, but he's also diabetic. So
I didn't know that. Okay.
He's 60 and over, and he has underlying health issues, a compromised immune system. And even with that, the son is saying, I just talked to him, and we think everything's going to be fine. And I think that's the message. I think that's the message that I wanted to get across tonight with this special edition of the show, focus strictly on the coronavirus. Because I found myself yesterday kind of wanting to overreact. Just because for the very things that you said, George, and that is when Major League Baseball started shutting down, and the NBA and Disneyland, California Adventure, when all these major corporations who make so much money, when they start shutting down, and it's definitely going to hurt their pocketbook, their bottom line. When that happens, in my head, I started going, wow. Maybe I need to give this a little more serious consideration than I have in the past.
Because they have people, man, who do. It's Booz Hamilton is the big company that does risk analysis for all these companies, right, and risk forecasting and all that. They got like a nerve center, man, and they're gathering information from all over the place, and they're helping guide these decisions. So I have to say that those people are far more informed than those of us who watch cable news because they're analyzing all this data and they have sources from all over the world. And so they're not flipping a coin to make these decisions is what I'm saying. And they have an obligation to their stockholders or their shareholders and whoever else has got a stake in it to be good stewards of their money, right? So they must have made the determination that a short-term loss was better than what the odds are for a long-term loss or a much larger loss if they didn't take these measures. So that's what really got my attention. Like I said, they've got the resources, then they've got more information than we do.
Right. And after talking with our guest today and having an offline conversation with that guest, I kind of think that these corporations are kind of like the politicians, and that is, they don't want to get caught saying, well, we're not going to shut down, and then somebody contracts corona, and then they pass away, and then there's a lawsuit.
Well, yeah, especially since there's already been a couple of basketball players and a referee, and of course the players are multi-million-dollar assets as far as the NBA is concerned.
Right.
So imagine if there was to be passed around, and even one, let's say one team lost just half their team to this thing, and they were sick and couldn't play. That would be an issue.
Right.
It really would be. So I mean, they say they suspended the rest of the season, but suspended is one thing, canceled is another, right?
Right. So listen, the last thing I want to talk about, George, and then we'll just wrap up because I just wanted to get the information out there, and I wanted to get my guest onto the airwaves, and I wanted people to hear the voice and hear what they have to say because, I was just going to say a second ago, when I saw the president talk last night and all these other major corporations start to shut down events, I started to think, well, maybe this is more important. Then I talked with the guest this morning offline, and I just they are they're healthcare professionals meeting with healthcare executives, and they're meeting daily about this. And they are saying to each other, there's no reason to panic. This is manageable. It's not as lethal as people think it is. And even if you contract it, and they're saying you should expect someone to contract the virus, get sick, and get well. And I think that's
right.
I think that's one of the one of the shortcomings of the media is every time somebody dies, they say another person died of coronavirus.
Right.
However, they don't tell you what is their age, what was their medical history, what
Sure.
underlying issues did they have. And, when did they seek treatment? And so those are important things to report also. And the other thing they're not reporting is the number of people, and it's in the thousands, who get it, are diagnosed, are treated, and recover.
That absolutely. Now let me ask you a question. Since you played the video of the president earlier, watch that video again. Did it sound like he was sick to you? Because I thought so, and I said I'm gonna play that again. And I started looking at some of the comments, and other people were catching it too. On that video. I don't know, man. It's just kind of disconcerting.
I did hear a discussion about that on the radio. I heard the comments on the radio, which prompted me to go in and pull a video. And there is a breathiness, if you will, to his voice in the video. And I understand that he was sick a few weeks ago or something. He had a cold or the flu or whatever. But I understand that he's been tested and he doesn't have corona. So
okay, see, I didn't know they had tested him because they weren't releasing that earlier because he had come in contact with someone who did test positive. It was the press secretary for the Brazilian prime minister who he just met with.
And also over at what's the name of that? Was that CPAC or APAC? I think it's CPAC.
CPAC, yeah, CPAC. There was somebody at CPAC
there
who was sick too.
So
there's some exposure there, man. And again, it's reaching the higher levels. When you have high net worth individuals and political figures like the First Lady of Canada, you just don't know. Right. And our president, of course, what is he, like 75, 76 years old, something like that?
74, I think. Yeah.
74, okay. Yeah, so I mean that's just something to think about, man.
Yeah, he's in a high risk group. Joe Biden's in a high risk group.
They all are. It seems.
I'm sorry,
right?
I can't say his name without laughing. And of course, Bernie has, heart issues also. So
right,
he's in that group also. But so the last part I want to talk about is how LAPD and LASD are kind of responding to this. So the LA Times had a story today called "Keeping Police Officers Healthy during coronavirus is essential. Here's what the LAPD is doing. And they kind of outline some things. And, you know, a lot of it is exactly what we've been talking about through the whole show. And that's, you know, cleaning workstations, disinfecting, cleaning vehicles and their surroundings, maintaining good health, get enough rest, moderate exercise, eat healthy, blah, 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 avoid tobacco. Another one I heard was to stay hydrated. I heard that this virus likes to be in a drier environment, so staying hydrated is also helpful. Staying up with vaccination, stay home when you're sick. But the one thing that did seem interesting to me was that the LAPD itself is not going to be wearing masks as they respond to calls for service. But if they're interacting or they have to interact with a member of the public who's exhibiting upper respiratory symptoms, the officers are going to provide a surgical mask if it's available to the person they're contacting, or they're going to be required to stand at least 6 feet away from them. So that's kind of
until it's time to take them to jail and tangle up with them and fight, and people like to spit and come on, man.
Yeah, and they're encouraging people to either go online or telephonically file their police reports for whatever little disturbances they may have. They may have to take in terms of reports. It also says that the officers are going to be issued personal protective equipment, so when they interact with the people, and if they have to interact with somebody who's suspected of having COVID-19, the officer is going to be required to wear that personal protective equipment. And from the sheriff's department,
watch taser usage go up because guys ain't gonna want to go hands on with these people.
They already don't want to go hands on, but it's because of policy, not because. Right.
So now imagine this, right? I'd buy stock in whoever makes taser batteries because they're going to be going through them.
And so the Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, put this out on March the 6th, and it says LASD custody operations are working with Department of Public Health and to prepare for the 2019 coronavirus, COVID-19. It says, although we do not currently have any inmates in our custody who have been diagnosed with COVID-19, LASD and the Center for Disease Control, they're following their guidelines, and they're monitoring inmates as well as people newly arriving to the jail. So, and then they also said that they're also going to be monitoring people who are released from custody. So even though they don't have anybody,
really,
even though they don't have anyone who tested positive or showing symptoms of COVID-19, they're going to monitor them after release. And it says inmates who are scheduled to be released from custody will not be impacted. And in fact, if the county jail system begins to see cases of COVID-19 within its housing units, the inmates will go through a release protocol monitored by the Department of Public Health. And then the Department of Public Health will additionally monitor them after they're released from custody. So this is impacting law enforcement. One of the other things that's said in the sheriff's thing is that as they're taking 911 calls, they're asking the 911 operator to screen for sickness. They're asking those people who are calling, say, hey, I need a unit to come. They have to get them to slow down, tell them what happened. And then, oh, by the way, are you sick? Has anyone in your home sick?
See, I don't know how practical that is, man, but the county jail, LA County Jail has long been known as a breeding ground for cooties anyway, right? Before COVID-19, you didn't remember that whole thing. What was it, man? They were called the Skid Row cooties, but there's a medical term for it.
I thought that was it.
Well, there's typhus right now, but was it shingles or something like that?
Yeah,
it was some sort of bacteria, maybe like a listeriosis, or it was something, I don't remember, but it was some kind of nastiness
from those
that was in the county jail, and people were getting it, and I mean deputies too were getting it because those deputies got to breathe that same air in that nasty jail. And I took a tour of the Twin Towers one time, and I actually went into the old county jail before on duty, and man, it's not a place I'd want to work even an 8-hour shift. Those guys are in there working 12 and 16-hour shifts. Yeah. It's amazing.
Right.
It's always been a breeding ground for nastiness.
And, last year there was a L.A. city attorney who contracted typhus. And there was also an
the LAPD officer. He gave it to his wife, right?
That's correct. And he infected his wife, and he got it at work. He works Central Division. And,
Yeah.
there was also a story in the LA Times about Station 9, LAFD, LA Fire Department Station number 9, and it's right in the heart of Skid Row. And,
wow.
Back in the day, they used to call that station Nino the Wino. And but now it's much more serious since Garcetti and company took over LA City and the decline of this city in the last 5 years. It's not a joke anymore. There's no more joking about Nino the Wino. Now there's serious diseases, serious medieval diseases on the streets of Los Angeles, and and cops and firefighters and paramedics, first responders, nurses, everybody is being exposed, and it's really sad and it's dangerous.
When's the last time you took a drive down we call it the Nickel, right? Skid Row, 5th Street. You drive down that Nickel, man, and it is like something out of Escape from LA or Escape from New York or something with the tents and the open campfires, and
it's not The Walking Dead down there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is, man. And you drive through and you make sure your windows are rolled up and your doors are locked. And, damn those red lights. You keep moving.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy down there.
That's right. It is. It's The Walking Dead down there. It's atrocious what has happened to the city downtown. And I lay it all at the foot of City Hall and Sacramento and the voters who put these people in there and keep them in there.
Well, the first thing they started doing was pushing the homeless further to the east, right, toward the LA River, because they wanted to gentrify downtown LA and make it a nice downtown, because we haven't had a very nice downtown in my entire life, really, like at least from the 70s until like the last 10 years. But we didn't need one because we have Hollywood and we got Westwood and Universal City and Santa Monica. So people didn't really care. But now we actually started to pour money into downtown. They start pushing all the homeless to the east toward the LA River. Well, now what are they doing at the LA River? They're building all those nice condos and shops and high-end living units over there. So they're getting squeezed from the east and the west right into the middle, man. And I think Little Tokyo is going to be the next to fall because they don't really have any other place to go. So until they fix that, we're going to have disease, and that disease is going to spread.
That's right.
Et cetera, et cetera.
And as long as these guys stay in office, as long as people keep voting for them, as long as the Democrats run Sacramento and they run City Hall and they run the LA County Board of Supervisors and they're in the mayor's office, as long as all that continues, we're going to see the continued decline of the city. It's atrocious. And if I didn't,
it's a money issue too. I mean, I don't care if you dug Ronald Reagan up and put him back as governor. You still got a money issue in terms of how you solve that, right?
Well,
how do you solve it without violating people's rights and the law and all that? So it's still there. I understand what you're saying in terms of why it got to be this way, but now that we're here, I don't really know that anybody could just turn it around no matter what their political stance was on it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I actually don't know if it can be turned around, but I do know this: there's a whole new industrial complex, and it's called the homeless industrial complex. And these politicians are, collaborating with developers who are taking all of this bond money and tax money from homeowners and business owners, property owners and business owners, and they're building because they've lied to the public about what the issue is. They're saying it's affordable housing, and it isn't. Anybody?
Well, yeah, man, but that's nothing new. You know Rick Caruso, right? The big developer.
Uh-huh.
Rick Caruso developed the Grove. He developed the what was that thing in Glendale that's like the Grove? He developed a lot of properties, big property. He's the largest property developer in LA. A lot of shopping and mixed use stuff, right? Well, Rick Caruso has also sat on the LAPD commission for many years too. Okay, so there's always and even before him, you had other developers too, right?
That's right.
So you've always had that, man, and there's got to be some way to stop that because clearly there's some connection there to what's going on and this diversion of public revenue.
Right. So when you get healthy and you come back, we're going to do a show on the homeless industrial complex because, once again, it's impacting the citizens. It's impacting the police department. It's impacting the fire department. It's impacting hospitals. It's impacting my taxes. It's impacting what they do with that money, who they give it to. And quite frankly, I am tired. I'm done. It's a wrap. I'm done with these people. If
I keep telling you, move out this way, man. Come out to God's country.
No, thanks. I ain't going out to Tweakerville. No, thank you. The Inland Empire.
Well, we don't have to Skid Row out here.
Well, listen, that's my parting shot on all of this. George, you have last thought you want to share?
Yeah, shame on you if you haven't been ready before now.
That's
but
right.
As the great poet Sugar Free says, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So use this as a dry run, as a dress rehearsal. All the preparation you're making now, keep that preparation up. So when something real happens, you won't be caught out there.
That's right. So wash your hands, stay home if you're sick, and for God's sake, stop taking all the water and toilet paper from Costco, for God's sake. So that's it for this edition of Ride Along Radio. I'm Gil Contreras.
I'm George Holt. Hey, leave your comments down below. I know a lot of you guys are making comments in the live section right now. But when you watch us later, feel free to leave comments right down there. We'll hit them again next week.
Yeah, you can catch us on social media. By now, you know all of them. Gil's at sheepdog.media. So that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week right here on Ride Along Radio.
Night, Captain.